All right. Hello, welcome so much. Thank you for joining us to this presentation today on the LIFT Sustainability Program. And I'm Emily and I work with Novus Coffee Imports. We are a specialty division of Mercon and based in the United States, serving our specialty coffee community, roasters, coffee enthusiasts. So really excited today to have Giacomo on. And Giacomo, you're in Amsterdam, right?
Yeah.
And I'll let you give a little introduction to yourself, but I'll just kind of preface it by saying that through the many years and having a lot of conversations with colleagues about sustainability at origin and what sustainability looks like. I have found over the last few months, Giacomo, my conversations with you about sustainability to be some of the most enlightening and just really thought-provoking conversations about what the LIFT program is and how the innovations that LIFT takes with sustainability. And I'm really excited that we can share that today with our roasters and professional colleagues, because I feel like where LIFT takes coffee is really the future of how we start to look at sustainability in a very holistic approach. And you know, I get excited when we bring in LIFT coffees. At Novus, we have quite a few of these really beautiful specialty micro-lot LIFT coffees from these farms. And those are wonderful. And I get really excited about promoting them. But on a larger scale, I get really excited about talking about LIFT for the scalability and how LIFT impacts coffees that I might not see on the specialty side. I might not see in the micro-lot side, but those real impacts on origin are very significant, and it gets me really excited to see what's happening with the coffee industry. So with all that said and laid out ahead of time, let me turn it over to you, Giacomo, so you can give us a little introduction to yourself, and you can go right into your presentation. If anybody has any sort of questions that pop up, feel free to put them into the chat, and I will be monitoring the chat to take down questions so that I can kind of help moderate and bring questions up to Giacomo or ask questions at the end. So feel free. If you're watching this afterwards, after it's all been recorded, and you have questions about anything that we discussed, feel free to email us those questions, and we'll, in a timely way, get back to you. So all that said, Giacomo, it's all yours.
Thank you, Emily. Yes, so it's a pleasure to be talking to the specialty community that Novus is serving around the US. I think what is important is that you're all safe and healthy, and because we also want to make sure, as the same way we make sure that that our farmers that are about to go harvest coffee, they will be safe and will be able to perform their tasks and to operate their business in the best possible way, in the healthiest possible way. We want you as well to do the same. So I think a coffee community that is coming together, really overcoming and passing through tough periods, will only be able to get out of this situation stronger. and capable of reimagining new way of doing business. And this is valid for all steps in the supply chain. So coming a little bit to myself, I've been in coffee for about 17 years now, and I've been blessed to work in different segments of the supply chain. I started on the roaster side. I worked for a number of years for an Italian roaster that was very specific on espresso. Then I moved to work for a coffee chain in the UK, and which has been tremendously interesting for me, because stepping into an organization that that was building up coffee, I had the opportunity to really be hands-on everything around coffee, from the source to cupping, to risk management, logistics, the marketing and branding of coffee credentials for the consumers. So it's been really, really instrumental for me to understand, let's say in a broader sense, what coffee means for a coffee company, which means a lot, obviously. And now being blessed in the past 2 years to work for Mercon, which is a very fast, forward-thinking green coffee supplier, because it has established 2 principles that are extremely important. And while I'm saying these, I shall probably start entering into the presentation itself, which I hope everybody will be able to see now. So Mercon, as I say, is a green coffee supplier that has, it's strongly driven by a purpose, which is building a better coffee world. And this purpose means growing profitable, sustainable, and integrated coffee supply chains. And we do these everywhere we go. And it's important because we have an approach to the business, which is one group, one team. So all companies into the Mercon group, they're working together, and they're serving the same purpose. So there are not different strategies per group company, depending on leadership or geographical location or specificities of the business model, but we all work together to achieve and grow profitable, sustainable, and integrated coffee supply chains. And this is really important because we do really see our value as being the pipe connecting producers to roasters. Producers and roasters are the most important actors in the supply chain. They are generating the most value to the consumer, and therefore we need to serve both communities in the same way, because the 2 thriving communities means a thriving business for Mercon. As long once one of the 2 communities is not thriving, our business cannot thrive. So this is really important, and our commitment, as I say, to producers. Today we're talking mostly about the LIFT program, and therefore it's obviously the target beneficiaries being the producers. But you will see that there are also added value that roasters can extract from LIFT supply chains.
Do you mind if I interject just 1 second?
Yeah.
I realized I haven't really set up kind of the relationship between Novus and Mercon very well.
Yeah.
So if I could just put that out there real quick. For those of you who may be familiar with LIFT through Novus, and others who may not be very familiar with Novus through Mercon, Mercon is our parent company. It's been around for a very long time. I think Giacomo touches on this a little bit in the presentation, but over 65 years based in Nicaragua with field offices throughout the world. And Novus is the specialty side of this very large coffee company. And one of the things that you'll see throughout this is the commitment that Mercon has to origin. And that's the same commitment that Novus has to origin that is really at the core of everything that we do. So as you're watching the presentation and you hear the name Mercon, and maybe you received an invite to this through Novus, I just want to put it out there, same thing. We are just the U.S. Specialty side of Mercon, and with that, I'll let Giacomo go back to it. I just wanted to share that.
And it's a very timely comment, because I was exactly going to show a little bit the timeline of our group. There's actually the first company of the group started in 1952, and as an export company, which today still is operating in Nicaragua, is one of the most important exporters in Nicaragua. But if you look at before 1952, Mercon is a family-owned company, and the family is a coffee family, and they have been in the coffee business for hundreds of years as coffee farmers. So there is actually a little bit before 1952, and then from 1952 as the moment when we start looking at the creation, the foundation of a group with exporting companies as I say, in Nicaragua, and then in Vietnam, in Honduras, in Brazil, and in Ethiopia, and in Guatemala, obviously. And then on the import side, where at the beginning the company operated only on the US market, then in 2013 the company started, 2003 the company started in Europe, so importing coffee in Europe. And then also you can look at the services that we are including into our group. So we have a company that is called Mercapital, which is a company that provides capital to farmers, which is extremely important for farmers to get access to finance, because you must imagine that usually the banking sector in origins is sometimes, well, is most of the time lacking finance for farmers, and obviously farmers, they do need it to run their business, so they do need short-term finance and long-term finance, and also usually banks, they tend to look at agriculture and small farmers with a high risk perception. So usually on a normal basis, farmers, they can access only partially their needs, and what they access to via the traditional banking system is often a very high interest rate, and sometimes they have to cover the gap with informal lenders, which obviously are entering into even higher interest rates. So we wanted to really address that issue since the very beginning of the business, already many years that we are lending to farmers. Exactly what we are doing is to avoid farmers not finding enough capital to run their businesses, and we don't want them obviously to have low efficiency in their financial systems and to erode their margins because of the interest rates. And then we enter into also other services. One out of many that I want to highlight before entering into Lift is Seeds for Progress. So Seeds for Progress, which is a foundation, is a registered foundation that supports schools in rural coffee communities in Nicaragua and also in Guatemala. And it's really important because in a time where really our borders are blocked and our future is determined by the type of passport that we have, what we really wanted is to kind of look at, for what Malcolm X was saying, that education is the passport for the future. So the only way for you to find a better future is to find through your education a way to shape your life, to be in control of your life. And so it's so important, and it's really embedded into what we do every day, is nurturing a next generation of coffee farmers that are more highly educated, and they can embrace the challenges that the future has ahead of us. So we want that to happen. We want that as a development, and we know that we need to work on the seeds of this progress today. And then the program Lift started in 2016 in the current form, how it is run today. But obviously, even before 2016, the company has always provided not only a number of services, such as we saw, the community services, the financial services. We also have a company that is called Transplanta, which is a nursery. So we provide also better planting material, better varieties to the farmers. But also the technical assistance was already there. But then we designed the Lift program in a way that is also measurable, and the impact can be tracked over the years, and it's very structured program that has many components. And not to say that the reason why we are here in 2019, Novus joined the group. So it was created a new company to promote specialty coffees into the US market. And I think this has come, as you can see, as a roots in the origins that then have found their final, let's say, end into markets all around the world. I won't talk too much of our sustainability framework, but I just quickly will tell you, we'll skip the slides after this one. I just want to leave you one very important message, which is, you've seen from the timeline, and you have heard from me also from the one group, one team. So just for you to understand that Lift doesn't sit as a standalone program, but Lift sits within a strategic framework that our group has. So we've analyzed the material issues. So what matters of impact for the business, and obviously services and programs with coffee farmers have come as a very important and critical topic for our business, and this is one of the reasons why we're doing this. So there is also, let's say, a management reason of doing that.
I
Yeah.
I think one of the things that always has struck me a lot with Lyft and the direction that Mercon is going with Lyft is that Lyft is not about trying to be trendy. It's not about trying to hit some kind of consumer trend. It's not trying to meet demands of a U.S. market. It's about real lasting sustainability that is origin driven uh, and numbers driven, and actually has a real goal that that it's trying to hit. And so I've always really appreciated that approach to the sustainability, and learning about Lyft with the timeline, seeing that efforts with Lyft really predate that um, consumer conversation about sustainability, and because Mercon, being at Origin, saw it from the very beginning, listening to farmers and seeing what needs were, and thinking in an innovative way forward about what the future is going to look like for the coffee industry. So that's just something I wanted to throw in, because I think that when we talk about it being inside our strategic framework, a big part of that is just, we're not doing it because it's trendy. We're doing it because this is the future of the coffee industry, and how we make the coffee industry a place for the farmer, and farmer success, and also roaster success.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very good point, Emily. Indeed, this is not a trendy standalone activity. This is connected to our the essence of what we do and what we are and what we represent in the coffee industry. What's our role? And our role is being able to add value to farmers and roasters, because only through their a thriving business for both, we can thrive ourselves. So it's connected to the strategy, because otherwise we will not survive long term, and that's why I think in terms of probably understanding where luckily the industry is going, and realizing that that coffee is such a fascinating product, is such a complex product that cannot be treated as just a commodity, as just a conventional product that you give it by fact that you will have it. What I think is important that we have realized at an early stage is our responsibility as custodians of this diversity. And we want to facilitate, and as I say, thanks God, the industry is realizing more and more these, and the beyond certification is becoming more and more of a talk in the industry, where you're addressing the real needs of farmers to thrive, the real needs of farmers to be profitable, to be continuing their business. Because if we know that if we lose the diversity in our industry will stop growing. And the specialty segment of our industry has played a fundamental role in creating this excitement with consumers, and making of coffee a cool product that is enjoyable, that is diverse, that is interesting to try. So and we know, because particularly our footprint being we have a strong footprint in, for example, in Central America, which is one of the diversity that is more in kind of an endangered diversity in our industry. So that's why we are so strongly committed to this, because as Emily's saying, this is not a trend. This is the survival of Mercon, and also the survival, most importantly, the survival of our entire industry. In a very sad bloom future, we might have only 2 origins producing coffee, and only probably 2 roasters serving consumers, and consumer won't have happy faces. They will have sad faces, and they will probably, some of them, also move out of coffee and use their energy, get energy through energy drinks, which then can be flavored artificially. But that's a very bloom and sad future that we don't want to think about. So we want to think about the diversity and beauty of the nature, and we are here to preserve that. So to go a little bit quickly, as I say, on our approach, we are also very much following also a global discussion around sustainable business and the sustainable development goals being, let's say, the tools that we use to articulate our conversation. So we do have a connection in different goals, and it's important for us that everything ultimately goes to thriving coffee supply chains. So finally, we are into Lift. So I would like to would like you to understand Lift as a continuous improvement multi-tool program. So it's a platform where we deliver services to farmers. Services are deployed to farmers in different ways. There are agronomists, highly qualified agronomists, each of them assisting about 100 farmers, 100 farmers, which means they can provide a quite intense extension service, so technical assistance. This is coupled with group training that unfortunately this year we have frozen, so we're starting to communicate more to farmers via digital means, from text messages, using mobile. So we have developed an application for some farmers that they do have a smartphone, and they can, let's say, get more kind of this content and material via the application. And then we also provide other, and the agronomist will become the coordinator of a group of farmers. So he will coordinate the different services that are delivered. As we said, the credit to the farmers, plans. He will also help coordinating the initiatives of Seeds for Progress, that obviously then act as an independent activity and works with community, with many teachers, students. But certainly it's important the presence of the agronomist, because the families that they do have their kids going to these schools. So it's also important to kind of follow up at household level. And this is happening in all our countries. Sorry, one other service that we still see as a value to the farmers is that they get certified. So they become Rainforest Alliance certified, or UTZ, or I don't know, CAFE practices, or multiple standards. So a same group can also certify with multiple. And this is also important because these, anyway, give an opportunity of sale, of better sale to the. So it's a marketing tool that the farmer can still use to place its coffee to a roaster. But the overall services are going far beyond the certification. So just for you to know, probably this slide is quite good, so we can stop and pause a little bit on this slide to really kind of for you visualize the services that I have been talking about. So if you start on the top side, you have good agricultural practices. So good agricultural practices are fundamental for not only for a standard calendar year and your standard farming practices, but also they serve very much the renovation. And renovation will also need if you look on the other side, credit and risk management. So obviously the long-term credit being the most difficult one to get for farmers, and any renovation program can only function if there is a long-term credit, a long-term loan, because the coffee plant will only start producing at the 3rd year after planting, so the farmer certainly will need a little bit of breathe. He cannot start repaying immediately. He needs to start repaying only when he sees the fruits coming. And that also goes in line with the credit with the farm business management, because only once you know your cost of production, you record your cost of production, then you know what type of capital you need. You know how you can manage the capital and the repayments on that capital. So you become an administrator, a business administrator of your farm. And this is exactly where we want farmers to go. We don't want poor, ignorant farmers. We want thriving, educated business partners. This is because that's the best supplier is a supplier that is capable of understanding your business, understanding the context, understanding the supply chain, and understanding the challenges. Then, as we said, we train and accompany the farmers also on environmental and social practices. Obviously, we work also at policies level. So, for example, we help farmers also determining their own farm policies, and farmers that participate into the program, they commit to 3 practices that are mandatory, and that's their participation. So no child labor, no discrimination nor forced labor, and payment of minimum wages. So these are the 3 components, and farmers, they commit themselves to respect these 3 practices. All the rest goes in development and improvement. An important point that we should talk here, particularly because of the audience, is the quality and post-harvesting. So we obviously provide the best planting material. We are also part of the work coffee research. We work very closely with the research agenda of being board members, but also being heavily involved into the research advisory committee of work coffee research. So we are very concerned about the importance of quality and variety at the genetic side. So the importance of preserving quality while advancing the improvement of new varieties that are more tolerant, more resistant. But at the same time, we know that once the coffee cherry has reached its maturity, it's up to people to preserve that quality. That quality from the moment someone picked that cherries from the tree to the moment that seeds will end up brewed somewhere else in the world, it's all a process of maintaining quality, maintaining the quality that nature has given. We cannot create that quality, we can only preserve that quality. And our step together with farmers is to preserve quality up to the moment when coffee is delivered to you. Then it's up to you to take the responsibility and maintain that quality. But I want you to know that this is very much part of what we do. So particularly, obviously, in certain moments of the year when harvesting is approaching, we insist a lot on technical assistance to refresh the key concepts, but also to train, because even a small farmer that has maybe 10 hectares of coffee, he also maybe is employing temporary workers to pickers that are going and harvest coffee. So we need also their workers to be trained on what a mature, a fully ripe cherry looks like, and how to preserve then that quality also with the milling. Then I mentioned a little bit, but I will also mention even further more into the presentation about Seeds for Progress, which, as I said, it's connected into the business model, because this is the future of this business model. Without that component, we might be looking at these only for a few years, but we really need to create a new generation of coffee farmers that are also very proud of being coffee farmers, and also they recognize, and this is, for example, I will enter because I'm very passionate about it, but I have to say it because it's just coming to my mind, and I want to say it. One program of the Seeds for Progress is the Escuela y Café, School and Coffee. This program is a secondary school, technical school on coffee. And when I was talking to the educators that are setting up this new program for Seeds for Progress, which we are doing in partnership with the National Federation of Coffee Growers, Colombian coffee growers that have an experience already in Colombia. One of the things that really struck me when I was talking, I was saying, because at the beginning we will be addressing the identity. So what coffee represents for your territory. And this is, I think, extremely important, because only when you're really tackling the essence of the identity of someone and the roots that their territory are fundamental part, at least and this is in many countries of the world, recognizing themselves through some food or some drinks. And you feel really proud when you see your product being recognized and being named around the world. And I think this is extremely important, because this is a first way to create that freedom, freedom to choose your future and freedom to fight for a better future. And really, the beauty here is that we would like these young farmers to get excited about farming, not willing to go to cities, not willing to migrate to other countries, because we know that they can have a successful and happy life where they are, while they might find challenges with migration.
If I can real quick,
yeah.
I think one of the things that's important with LIFT is understanding that LIFT as a program it's not a certification. It's a very holistic approach to the future of coffee. So it's meeting the current needs at the farm level and also at the human level for the people who are involved in the supply chain. It's meeting their current needs. It is preparing them for the immediate future, and it's also really cultivating a very promising future within the industry for those who are involved in it. So, you know, understanding and people love to tell the story about multi-generational farms and to buy that coffee and talk about how it's a third or fourth generation farmer, and that's a lovely story. But if we're not actively working to help that next generation of farmers and the generation after that, then as wonderful as those stories are, that's not true sustainability. That's a marketing tool, right? That story is just for marketing. So LIFT really looks at it and says there is wisdom for that third and fourth generation farm. There's potential there. They have needs, and we can provide them the tools they need to meet those needs. And while we're doing all of that, we are also going to actively work on cultivating those next generation of farmers, not because it's marketing, but because that's what true sustainability is. And so I think that it's this slide with all the different things that LIFT is working on. It's great to see this as almost like a toolbox, right? Like we show up and the agronomist, through a relationship, through building a one-on-one relationship with a farm and with a farming family, right? The relationship with the kids who are there and the parents and the people who are working on the farm, through having that relationship, that agronomist gets to see what needs that farmer has. And they have this amazing toolbox where they can open it up and say, well, we're going to give you, we're going to help you with building skills for renovation and resources, or maybe you need a more secure access to capital. Maybe you have something really special on your farm and you need more market access so that you can get a higher premium, and maybe a farmer's just like super into different processing or really into the quality side. Well, they need a more market access so that they can expand on that. So when we look at Lift, there's no cookie cutter way that we say this is the program that you're going to be in. It's through the relationship building that everybody has the same tools, but through the relationship building we kind of assess and see how we can use those tools in the best way to support that farmer and that farming family as they continue on.
Yes, yeah, indeed. This is not a certification. It doesn't. It's not meant to be a certification. It can be coupled by, if for example, if you have clients that are requiring to have a seal, a logo. We and they want the Rainforest Alliance. We work for those farmers to be certified, so that is not mutually to be excluded, but what Lift is touching in the business is the core essence of viability, and certifications are obviously adding another type of value to you. One thing to be considered is that the Lift platform offers the opportunity to have a so much more tailored group of farmers, so that are connected to you, and therefore their stories are individual stories, and the Novus team can really help you unlock also this dialogue, this engagement that you want to have with your consumers. And it won't be let's say a pre-digested, standardized story that will be offered to any buyer of Rainforest Alliance in that region, because it's coming from Rainforest Alliance, for example, or that obviously needs to have a global approach. Here, we are looking about these few farmers and their stories. So I think you get into a level of intimacy in the connection with the farmers and with the consumers, because this is not a pre-digested, standardized story. This is real life story of what's happening in real time in your supply chain. So not in general. So to go on with let's say talking about Lift, just so you know, when entering into the training and the technical assistance, we have 3 areas. So we work a lot on productivity and quality, and that somehow cover the economic dimension of the program. We work on the social development, so obviously there are social issues that we need to create awareness, and we also need to see that the families and the farmers and their workers are improving their social well-being. And as I said, 3 practices that are social practices are mandatory, and this is a commitment from the side of the producer. On the environmental side, it's the awareness of environmental impacts. We work a lot on preservation of water sources, buffer area. We work a lot on biodiversity, so diversity of shading, diversity of windbreakers, diversity of contour planting, so to mimic as much as possible the ecosystem functions within an agro ecosystem, because a coffee farm is an agro ecosystem. So you have an agricultural part that is moving and has certain needs, but you also have a natural a forest part of the farm that also has certain dynamics. So making sure that we create ecosystem corridors so that birds and insects can navigate through the farm with a continuity. And we also find recommendations to provide tree species that offer these ecosystem services. For example, species that offer space for nesting, species that offer fruits for food. So in order to provide to particularly to birds and insects as much as systems, much as functions as to a natural ecosystem. Also, we work a lot on managing waste, particularly wastewaters from pulping coffee, after, let's say, from washing coffee, sorry, and also waste managed, for example, the agrochemicals containers, the disposal of this waste. This is, and we are also starting to tap into starting to understand how regenerative organic agriculture could fit into with the responsibility of knowing that these farmers, they need to maintain productivity levels in order to earn a living. So we don't want to step into organic agriculture as sort of a neglected agriculture where farmers have few cherries that are organic, are sold at very good prices, but overall this is not compensating the loss of productivity. We want farmers to be able to produce organic coffee and applying regenerative agricultural concepts that has a lot to do with managing soil fertility and soil structure in a way that is efficient and productive. Entering just at a glance as a program, the training component as a curriculum. So it's basically the farmers, they go to school. There are 8 training sessions per year, once per month outside of the harvesting time, because obviously during the harvesting time, farmers won't have the time to dedicate to training. And then during the first year, these are the topics that are covered. And then alongside year 2, year 3, then the program is actually a long term. So we go also beyond year 3. And what we do, we keep on, let's say, insisting on concepts, because you have always to refresh concepts, but also we insist a little bit more on the topics that we see are still matter of improvement. So, and we track these through an index. So through the index, we know how is each individual farm performing with respect to 18 key practices. As I said, 3 of them are mandatory and 15 are on improvement side. So we know also each farmer or each cluster of farmers which areas are to be, let's say, reinforced over the years. So when we have a group topic, we can work through group training. But when we also have specificities, individual specificities of each farmer, and in that case, we also work through technical assistance. So as I said, everything is transparently. So and that's important because all the information that are raised by the agronomist, all the monitoring of the index, and all the profile of the farmers are recorded by the agronomist on an application, and the application then immediately transmit this data into a sort of a data lake, and then we have another business intelligence tool that is fishing this data and creating, let's say, the index. So it's basically there is no human intervention on these data, but we only analyze the data as they are collected from the farmers. Just last crop, a few numbers of where we are. So we have more than 3,000 farmers. It's actually 3,300, 30 something farmers, 31. We have in all our origins, so in Nicaragua again, and in Guatemala, in Honduras, in Brazil, and in Vietnam. And then we are now developing a program for Ethiopia, where we are opening a representative office. We have more than 70 agronomists. We provide more than 2,000 training events. We've produced out of these farmers have produced more than 600,000 bags. Obviously, some of them, particularly the Brazilian clusters, are obviously high producers because just the profile of the farmer is just usually medium to big farmers. So they obviously produce more, and everything is on 35,000 hectares. So 35,000 hectares are dedicated to grow coffee according to this best system. Impacts that we are seeing, so just on the 1920 on average, so these are like kind of aggregated data. We had an improvement of 7.7% on the environmental side, environmental index, social index plus 23.8%, such a big jump because obviously, well, this year we had a lot of new producer stepping into the program, and you have 3 practices that are mandatory, so they commit since the very beginning, and these are social practices. So that's usually we see a let's say immediately growth on the social index, while the environmental and the productivity index, they take a little bit longer to improve. On the productivity side, we had a 10% improvement. Overall aggregated, the overall lift index is 12%. And also interestingly enough, we've isolated a cohort of female farmers, and we've seen that they have been able to improve higher than the average. And therefore, there certainly is an important, interesting commitment from female leaders in coffee farming. On the productivity side, so as a focus on productivity, which I said it's a really important focus, so tackling the economic viability of coffee farming. Just in Nicaragua, so that you know, we've increased on average, so we are our farmers are producing about 24 bags per hectare, and this is versus a national average according to International Coffee Organization numbers of 13 bags per hectare. So that certainly is a game changer in terms of the profitability of a coffee farm. For you to know, obviously, this is not a closed system. This is not a silos. We are continuously carrying out complementary research, partnerships to learn more how we can improve our services. These are some of our partners. As I mentioned before, World Coffee Research is an important partner of ours. We work very closely to Conservation International, but also with universities such as Wageningen University here in the Netherlands, UC Davis in California, but we also work, for example, with NGOs such as Catholic Relief Services, or also other businesses such as input providers such as Yara, which provides high quality fertilizers. Lift is so much connected to the strategy of the business that has become a matter of measurement for the first sustainability linked credit facility, meaning our loan as a group is connected to indicators, sustainability indicators, which are improvement of the Lift index, number of certified farmers that we are bringing into the supply chains, and the growth of the Lift volume. So growth by quality, by quantity, and also a contextual factor of certified farmers. So what happened is that basically through this achievement of these KPIs, we are, if we passed the first year and we've been able to achieve the 3. So this will trigger a discount in our interest rate. And the discount will be dedicated, will be reinvested into Lift. So it's not a margin, obviously, that the business is doing, but it's a way that our financial partners are using to scale up the program. I'm concerned about timing, so I will, since I mentioned a little bit about Seeds for Progress.
Yeah, I think we can do just a real quick on Seeds for Progress. I know that we will have upcoming webinars to talk specifically just about Seeds for Progress, but this gives a good little teaser of what's to come.
Very good, Emily. So I won't get into that, but I recommend everybody to follow that webinar, because the activity that Seeds for Progress is doing is very complementary to what we've been talking today.
Awesome. Is that it?
Yeah. Then I would
so
leave
much.
it. Yes, I would leave it here, and well,
awesome. And I know we're kind of at the end of our time. Giacomo, thank you so much. I know that the timing of this was a little bit of a challenge, because we had to cross quite a few time zones in order to get everybody, in order to make this available for you and for me. So thank you for your flexibility for being able to do that. I would just love to kind of wrap up and mention that Lift is a program that, it's not a certification. Many of the Lift coffees are certified, because that provides additional market access to the farmer and helps them enter into servicing different customers. So that's great. But it's really about participation and working with, through that relationship, working with a farmer and a farming family to help them to achieve their business goals, their long-term goals, and helping them to be successful for future generations. Many of the coffees that we offer through Novus are Lift coffees. In fact, we have many coffees that are Lift coffees. We have many coffees that are coming directly from female farmers to provide them additional market access. One of the coffees that I'm most excited about that we'll be bringing in is a coffee from Brazil. That's a Lift coffee. I think there's something incredibly special about being able, with so much diversity, being able to actually create an entire line of coffees or an entire blend of coffees that are all Lift coffees, natural processed coffees, Central American coffees, coffees from Brazil, coffees from Vietnam, all of which have a real dedication to the same set of principles and values. And in that way, you can, help to connect your customer to that set of values, as and help connect your staff to that set of values. So I think while Lyft is new to many of the roasters that we work with and talk to, I think that it's the kind of program that once you learn about it, it's easy to share that vision for the future of coffee. So again, I just want to thank everybody for joining. If you have any questions about Lyft, what kind of Lyft coffees are available, what kind of Lyft coffees are available now or in the future, then I would love to chat with you about that. You can always send emails to anyone in the Novus team, and we'll be happy to reach out and explain more about Lyft, or help to connect you to coffee that really speaks to you, connect you to a farm that you feel really good about, and that you can have that direct connection to. So again, my name's Emily with the Novus Coffee sales team. Thank you, Giacomo, for joining us from Mercon. And we just want to thank everybody for their time. That's about all we have. If you have any additional questions or comments, feel free to go over to the Novus Coffee Imports website, and there's a lot of resources there, as well as direct links to where you can ask your questions. So until next time, thank you so much, and talk to you later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.